Hi, y'all. It's that time again. Oh, yeah. We are back. It is time for Mervin Reads, and it is time for another trip to the illustrated guide. Yes, the definitive copy of Stephanie Meyer's filling in the blanks of her Twilight universe. And if you've already watched all the episodes up till now, you will know that we have had no real filling in of anything. But maybe that'll change. Who knows? If you saw my update video, you know that we're doing this out of order now. So instead of doing the Denali's, who are next in line in the book's chronological order, not chronological order, what am I saying? Just order. We're going to the Romanians, because they are a logical follow-up to the Volturi, since a lot of Romanian stuff was actually discussed in the Volturi section. And I did actually drop hints here and there about the Romanian Coven in there, but I couldn't really talk about it, because we hadn't read them. Well, now I'm going to talk about some of them. Alright, the Romanian Coven. Because Breaking Dawn Part 2 has not been released, there are no pictures of the two people they've chosen to play these two characters in the movies. So, we'll just make do when we get there. Alright, the Romanian Coven. The Romanian Coven was dominated by the vampire... the Romanian Coven dominated the vampire world until it was overthrown by the Volturi between 400 and 500 AD. I should note that there is a completely unnecessary comma after the word Volturi. Only 2 members of the original Romanian Coven survive. Okay, whatever. There we have a picture. Another one of those watercolors that adds nothing to anything. Often referred to as Dracula's Castle, Bran Castle is a national monument and a landmark in Romania. It was built in 1377, hundreds of years after the Romanian Coven was defeated by the Volturi. Thanks for the info. What does that have to do with the Romanian Coven? Answers? Anybody? Bueller? What point did that have? That kind of blindsided me. I don't know why this is in here. This does not relate to the Romanian Coven. Because, just because they are Romanian, which we'll be getting into that, doesn't make them the Transylvanian Dracula, bwahaha. I don't even know. I'm just gonna move on. Okay? We're just... off we go. Alright, we're doing also the Romanian profiles out of order because they're in alphabetical order, and the leader, they claim to be together, but not that way. But really, it's pretty definitive that Vladimir is the guy in charge. So, why he's second, I don't know! Sometimes alphabetical doesn't always work, okay? Okay, Vladimir. Name Vladimir, which, looking around in my research, 2 things. One, this could have been, awesome, and I'll get to as to why it's not, because, I'm not going to discuss his meaning in his profile, I'm just going to do it here. Stefan or Stefan, I could never really find a good way to pronounce that because Meyer screwed up her timeline. His name means like crowned one, you know, implying royalty. And Vladimir, best I could tell, often means like master of the universe.
By the power of Grayskull.
So if her timeline hadn't been so screwed up, we could have a good, you know, they're the ruling vampires or the original ones, and with names like that, it fit. But here's why that doesn't work. He couldn't have been named Vladimir, because date of birth unknown, date of transformation before 1000 BC. The name Vladimir didn't exist before 1000 BC. It's pretty recent, actually. Not, you know, like only 100 years old, but it's not that old. It's not 3,000 years old. So that's messed up. Source of transformation, unknown. Place of origin, Dacia, Proto-Romania. Oh! Well, there you go. Doesn't that just make sense, right? I know a lot of people were complaining, Why do they call themselves the Romanians if they existed 3,000 years ago? Romania didn't exist then. You screwed all that up. But, there you go. They're Dacian. Except how, Dacia didn't exist in 1000 BC either. Yeah, Dacia didn't show up, until about 100 BC, and it only lasted until about 280. So, they couldn't even be considered Dacian either. But, I have another problem with that. Even if we ignored the fact that they were born 1,000 years ago, let's say they actually are Dacian. And if I'm pronouncing it, if it's Dacia or Dacia, I'm sorry. Let's say they are. Let's say they actually were born in the right era. Why are they calling themselves Romanians? They're not Romanian. That's the thing I don't understand. She acknowledged that they're not Romanian, but calls them Romanian. Why? Why would they call themselves Romanian? They've been Dacian longer than they would have been classified as Romanian. They have no reason to call themselves Romanian. And if you bring in the whole frozen in time thing, now they have even less reason to call themselves Romanians, because it's literally impossible for their frozen minds to think of themselves as Romanians. Why the hell are they calling themselves the Romanian Coven if they were never even Romanian in the first place? I'm pretty sure they were overthrown before Romania was even founded. Why do they call themselves Romanians? Just because it's recognizable and because Meyer wanted to exploit the Transylvania thing? I think we have a winner there. Hair color, ashy blonde. Oh, she got that one right. He doesn't have an E. Rosalie didn't have an E either. Eye color, red, black, vampire. I figured that out. That doesn't bother me anymore. And ha to the commenter who just threw it out there. That is not my BAT credit card, thank you. I figured it out. It's the Cullen. I look back on the Cullen profiles. I was mistaken. They have the human. They have the blue parentheses human, and then gold parentheses vampire. It still makes no sense in this context because she's not giving us the human eye colors. Meyer, we can assume that when you say the red/black, we know you're talking about vampires. You don't have to hold our hand through this too. Don't touch me. Alright, there's nothing really interesting on the rest of the description. So, personal history time. Like Stefan, I'm going with Stefan. Like Stefan, Vladimir was one of the original 12 ruling members of the Romanian Coven. Except they weren't Romanian. Vladimir was the head of a coven of 4, large by normal vampire standards, when he joined forces with the other Romanian vampires. Someone pointed this out, and I agree. Meyer, 2 people isn't a coven. That's just a pair. 3 people can hardly be classified as a coven. When you say the word coven, you typically think of 5 or 6, more, lots. So 2 is just a pair. But yeah, someone pointed that out, so I figured I may as well mention it too. Okay, his big successful coven was one of the inspirations for the notion of coexistence to pursue power. What power? During their rule, which lasted nearly 1,000 years, the Romanians lived brazenly and decadently, like the Cullens. For thousands of miles in every direction, they were known and feared. Well, obviously not enough to make the history books. Meyer, you've set your vampires in this world. This is not a fantasy planet you've invented, okay? This is here. This is the world within a world. This is something I'm supposed to believe could be happening right now. I have to be able to suspend my disbelief for your story to work because you're writing it into my universe. And you have, for 1,000 years, 12 vampires living in Proto-Romania, and are widely known and feared for thousands of miles in all directions, but now we don't know about it. You'd think that would make the textbooks, but there's nothing. There's not even mythology on this. You can't do that. You can't just make it up like that. It's got to somehow fit into the human history and mythology and stories already put down. This is not hard. It's not hard to look into ancient texts or old stories of that area and find something that sounds like what you would want and then spin it that way. It's kind of like, here's a good example. Stargate, Egyptian mythology. It's those aliens in their pyramid spaceships. That's simplistic, I know, but that's an example. That's a good example. How come Meyer can't do this? If Stargate can do it, which is a fun movie with hot Kurt Russell, why can't she? Oh, right, because she's a lazy hack. Maybe I should have waited before getting into this, because I'm mad already. Okay, they ruled over vampires and humans alike, demanding slave labor and copious human sacrifice. Okay. I take back the what power thing, because these guys obviously are establishing themselves with power. They are doing what I say. Why haven't the vampires done if they're so powerful? Even though I pointed out that we could easily make mincemeat out of vampires, in Meyer's head, no, we can't. She'd somehow pull whatever right out of her posterior. If I tried to explain that humans could easily make a weapon that could target a vampire, she would say, no, they couldn't. She would hand wave it all. So let's pretend that, yes, they could. Well, here the Romanians are doing just that. Occasionally, humans would create armies to try and overthrow what they considered to be beautiful demon overlords. Back to that in a second. But, of course, all such attacks were futile, resulting in an easy feast for the Romanians. Armies can't kill them. So, why hide? And if it was like this for 1,000 years, why did all of a sudden the vampires believe the Volturi? Did they have any reason to? They see the Romanians living large, wiping out armies, and then all of a sudden the Volturi say, we should keep secret because humans will overthrow us. They have a prime example that they can't. So why did they suddenly believe the Volturi? They had no reason to. Perel writes, you could have written a book about a dystopian world where these vampires did not get defeated by the Volturi and still ruled. And humans eventually did overthrow them. Interesting story. But that would be a celebration of humanity, and we can't have that. Alright, and now back to what I wanted to go to. Beautiful demon overlords. Okay, you know what? If you say the word beautiful in relation to these horrific, horrible monsters again, I'm gonna kill you. It doesn't matter. Okay? I don't think they would emphasize, these are our horrible enemies. They are slaughtering people. They are enslaving entire cities. But we must emphasize that they are beautiful. Why? Why would they emphasize that they're beautiful? They have no reason to. In fact, I'm sorry, I don't care what they look like physically. Something that does that is ugly. Sorry, Meyer. Hey, obedient humans were spared death, if not labor, and a few lucky individuals pleased the Romanians enough to earn immortality. Yeah, the lucky ones. Lucky people get immortality. Lucky people get turned into sparkly white as right vampires. I'm not even gonna bother. Vampires were a well-known fact in the human world when the Volturi began to rise. Though nothing about the real ones carried over to now. Not sure how that happened. The Volturi contention that vampires should conceal their existence was scoffed at. Meanwhile, I scoff at you ending a sentence with a preposition, one that was very easily corrected. The Romanians scoffed at the Volturi contention that vampires should conceal their existence. English major, folks! Then the Volturi defeated the Romanians and copied many aspects of their way of life. Formation of a permanent guard, stationary home, skipping hunting in favor of prey being rounded up and delivered to them. The difference was they did all these things while remaining invisible to humans. Well, that and imposing some order on a chaotic vampire world. Oh, and I forgot to mention this. Their reign was 1,000 years. Except they don't have the milky film over their eyes, which in the vampire physiology thing was described as dust settling in their pores, which I still don't understand. I will never understand that. Their reign lasted 1,000 years. They should have that film. Is there a certain time? I mean, the Volturi have only reigned for what? Only 500 or 600 years more? Is that the cutoff date? 1,000 years into your reign, you suddenly start getting that dust. Though their eyes are perfectly clear. What happened in those 500 years where the Volturi were reigning? And near as I can tell, Caius is always going out on expeditions. How does this film develop? How does this happen? The milky white thing over the eyes is never explained, never adequately resolved, so I reject it. While Vladimir's mate survived the initial takeover, she was killed in 810 AD during the last of many attempts the Romanians made in the centuries to regroup, repopulate, and topple the Volturi. So they could go back to what they wanted, obviously. They amassed an army of more than 100 new recruits, and were confident that the Volturi would fall. 100 vampires? That had to call attention to something. Aro just let him? And were confident the Volturi would fall. This ill-fated assault occurred a decade after Aro had acquired Jane and Alec. It was the first time Aro displayed their talents in battle. The Romanians were decimated, and this is funny. Only Stefan and Vladimir, who were planning to spring a trap for the expected Volturi retreat, escaped. So yeah, they said... Why does Meyer glorify cowardice? You guys go into battle, we'll stay behind. And to pick off everyone who retreats. We will win. Oh my god. Why does she glorify the coward? Why? I really don't understand why. It never makes any sense to me. Yeah, she'll call the Volturi cowards for hiding behind their powers and all that, but look at all of her protagonists. They're all yellow bellies. And after that, they decided to disappear until the Volturi weakened or another power presented itself. I wonder who that could be. And I also have to ask, what are they waiting for? I want to know. Meyer never answers this. They're hoping to topple the Volturi. Okay, they just want to kill them out of vengeance for the dead mates? Or what? What do they plan on doing? I'm supposed to support the Romanians because they kiss the sparkly white backsides of the Cullens. I'm supposed to think them good. But what are they going to do when the Volturi fall? If the Volturi were to fall, I mean. You know they'd set themselves up and take over. And now that they got the Volturi ideas, they could easily get their own guard full of special talents and that sort of thing. So why should I think them better? When it's more than obvious that they sit there and slander and tear down the Volturi with words, all while planning to do the exact same thing. Well, they did the exact same thing. Hypocrisy much? Okay, famous quote. Oh, I was expecting the white hat one. I was hoping for that one. That one makes me laugh. You know the white hat quote? The Breaking Dawn quote? I love the white hat quote. It makes me laugh and invokes some Catholic rage. Alright, now it's time for Stefan. Sorry if I pronounced the name wrong, as always. Everything's the same in the description, except he's 1 inch shorter. And his hair color is dark brown. Okay, he was one of the original 12. Romania did not exist as a country at the time of the Coven's inception. That area of Eastern Europe was known as Dacia. Not before 1000 AD! A group of ambitious vampires called the truce to the usual squabbling between small covens and joined forces for the purpose of gaining power, which we found out what power that was, so I'm not going to complain. To rule, overcome their competitive drives to cooperate. I still don't understand the competitive drives thing. I really don't. It just makes me think they're no better than animals. In that case, they're not better than me. Okay, they focused only on physical strength. Their guard-like entity was composed entirely of vampires like Felix and Emmett. Perhaps because none of the ruling members of the Coven possessed supernatural abilities themselves, they underestimated the advantage such abilities give them in battle. Well, that's because they're stupid! How could you not see that would help you? Are they that dumb? They ignored talented vampires in favor of brute strength. Yeah, they are that dumb. But their blind spot was understandable, as no one had ever used talents the way the Volturi eventually did. Why? You gonna give me a reason? Both lost mates to the Volturi, Stefan during the third decade of the initial battle, ensuring their drive for vengeance would never fade. Third decade of what battle? They always are searching for ways to discomfit or damage the Volturi. Ah, yes, they're seeking out ways to make them uncomfortable. I recommend a swirly. Every few decades, the Volturi send Dmitri and others after the remaining Romanians, so Stefan and Vladimir are constantly on the move and always on their guard. If the Volturi focused their efforts, they would be able to wipe Stefan and Vladimir out, but since the two pose little threat, the Volturi have never committed their assets to a drawn-out chase. Everybody's stupid. Hunt them down and kill them! Just do it! You know they killed your mates, you know they want vengeance, you know they're probably sitting around waiting. Just kill them! It wouldn't be hard! Send out some vampires with talents and kill them! It's a simple cleanup act. Just go do it, Aro. Come on! Haven't you ever read the Evil Overlord list? And then his famous quote, "We've been waiting for a millennium and a half for the Italian scum to be challenged." Except they weren't Italian at the time. "If there any chance they will fall, we will be here to see it." Yeah, no, you'll be here to see a very calm discussion, and then everyone goes home. It's like Exodus, in a way. And that's it. There are no more Romanians in here. You know, I gotta say, these guys are dumb. And they really make the Volturi look even dumber than they already looked. And it just... the whole thing sucks. That's pretty much all I've got to say on that. But, yeah. I know it's a little minor comeback and not the longest vid, but those are the Romanians. They are done. Next up is the one I said we were gonna do, but lied about. We are gonna do James's coven next. And I can tell you now, these three profiles are very long, and so we'll all be separate probably. We're gonna start with James, and we're gonna do Victoria, and then Laurent. These three have pictures, so I don't have to rely on movies or anything like that. I'll see you next time for James. It's gonna be a lot of fun, let me tell you. I've read ahead. Oh, brace yourselves. I'll see you guys on the dark side of the moon.